Howdy freeze dryers, I've been blessed by the freeze drying gods today because my new Harvestright XL freeze dryer just showed up. I've been patiently waiting for this. So I'm gonna crack right into this and get going on this video. And I have not set eyes on this yet, other than I cut the bands off of this and I cut the tape. I haven't seen the freeze dryer yet, so I'm really excited to see what the difference is between an XL and a large. I can tell just by the box that it's quite a bit bigger. The weight, the crated weight, is quite a bit heavier as well. So it is packaged a little bit different than the large. It looks like they stuffed the filter, the impulse sealer, and the new XL vacuum pump, Premier pump, on the side here. And then the whole rest of this crate is the XL, so it's pretty sizable. So I'm gonna pull these things off the side here. We'll check out the pump once we get it into the studio. It does feel like it's quite a bit heavier. Okay, well, there she is. First impressions. It's actually a lot deeper than I thought it would be and a lot narrower than I thought it would be. Really, the footprint from this way is really not that much bigger than a large, but the depth is quite a bit deeper. So let's get some quick measurements just to see how it sizes up to a large. Width-wise, about 23.25. The height is about 34.5. And then the depth from the handle, the very farthest point of the handle, all the way to the back is about 36.25. And that's not including the cord. You're gonna lose a little bit of space with the cord. And one thing that you notice right away is it's very commercial feeling. The door is extremely large. The chamber is lots bigger than a large or a medium. Let's take this seal off and get this shelf out, as well as all the other components that come with this. So I actually took everything out of the chamber. There's 6 stainless steel trays. There's a rack that weighs probably 40, 50 pounds. All the other gear and everything. I took everything out, moved it to the studio because this thing, I'm not gonna lie, is heavy. It's definitely doable with 2 people, 2 strong people, but this is, by all means, a commercial freeze dryer, and it really makes the large and the medium seem pretty small. How small exactly? Let's find out. Well, this is my 2021 medium size, and compared to the XL, it looks like a child. And although I wouldn't recommend freeze drying your dog, here's my 30-pound dog, and he can fit inside of this chamber. That's how big it is. I can also reach all the way back, clear to the back, barely. The chamber is enormous, and it's very, very apparent very quickly when you get this thing set up and you get it set, especially if you're setting it next to a different size freeze dryer, how commercial feeling this is. And we're gonna run a test load later in the video, but this thing needs to sit for, I usually give it 24 hours. The manual might recommend something different. Any kind of refrigeration type unit, I always let it sit after it's been through transit and you're moving it, especially this thing is very big, so it tends to get tilted to the side here and there. And I just like to let all of that oil and all the things that in the compressor and things like that, let all that settle. So while we're doing that, let's check and see what else came in the box. I'll show you a comparison of the trays just to show you how much different tray size is, just to give you a scale of how large this thing is. All right, here are these massive trays. And if you can't gauge how big they are on the screen, let's set them next to some other sizes. So this is a large tray. This is a medium tray. This is a small tray inside of the XL tray. So you can definitely see how much bigger the XL tray is. And there's a large and a small tray inside the XL tray. Not only is it bigger, but there are 6 of these as opposed to 5 in the large. I would imagine this probably does pretty close to twice as much as a large, maybe even more. And I always like to know how much liquid these hold. So I have 8 cups in here. This will be 10 if it's empty. I think we can get to 10, if not more. Okay, now there's 12 in there. There's 14 cups. We're just about to the brim. So there's 15 cups. We're at the top of the tray. That is so much more than I thought it was gonna hold. That's 90 cups of liquid or 90 cups of food, assuming you're only going up to the lip, which is crazy. And that's a massive surface area in comparison. Let's just put 4 medium trays right next to each other just to show you the difference. So here are the 4 medium trays inside. Here's our 6th tray for the XL. Huge difference. One downside that I do see being these trays are so huge is that they will probably not fit in most upright deep freezes. They will definitely fit in a deep freeze that's like a chest deep freeze. They will probably not fit in a standard refrigerator type freezer either. And enough about the trays, let's get back into what else comes in the box. So Harvestright always sets you up real well. They give you a 50 pack of Mylar bags. They give you 50 oxygen absorbers. They also give you the impulse sealer to seal the bags. I'm assuming this is the same one that they give with all of the freeze dryers, and it is. They also give you their own branded oil filter. This works really well. This is what I use. It's gonna help you recycle your oil, and you can keep using the same oil several times as long as the oil is still good quality. And you're also gonna get all of the literature and familiarize yourself with this literature. This is gonna help you more than anything if you've never freeze dried before. Owner's manual is very important. It's gonna go over very important things that you need to know about freeze drying and how to maintain the freeze dryer. Guide to freeze drying is gonna cover all of the basics. And then we have our vacuum pump hose. This will connect to the side, and we'll go through that in a second. Vacuum pump is left. I wanna save that for a minute. And then this is something that's very important because this could possibly decide whether or not you buy an XL. Because this is the freeze dryer power cord. And not only does this require a 520 NEMA outlet, but it also requires a dedicated 20 amp circuit. And if you don't have a dedicated 20 amp circuit, you're either gonna have to have an electrician install one, or you're gonna have to find one in your home. Normally, the only time you're gonna find one in your home is if you have something that requires a dedicated circuit, such as a refrigerator, sometimes a microwave. But you're definitely gonna wanna keep that in mind if you're considering purchasing the XL. For a lot of you, you're probably using this for a business or a commercial setting, so the power supply thing shouldn't be an issue. And next I want to pop open this vacuum pump because this is a different type of Premier pump than what comes with a medium or what comes with a large. I'm assuming that the CFM level is probably a little bit higher because a bigger pump is most likely needed to pull the extra chamber volume out of that huge chamber that's in the XL. And there it is, comes with a manual, comes with your first round of oil, and then just for comparison, here is the other size. The XL is slightly bigger. It says it draws a little bit more current, but really it's kind of hard to tell which one's which. So a couple things to note on this. This has a gas ballast that helps it dispel water that gets in the oil or could potentially get in the oil. There is a closed and an open. You always want the gas ballast knob to be on this O for open. Let's go ahead and fill it up with oil. You just unscrew the demister. Is our oil level to match up in between this minimum and maximum. I like to go right in the center of it. Actually, when I see it start moving, I stop pouring because a lot of times it will keep going up even after you stop pouring. And now we can screw the demister back on. You also, before you fill your oil up, make sure this is turned clockwise. This is your drain valve, your oil drain valve. You want to make sure it's turned to the right, and that will close it. Make sure that's closed before you start filling. Then we're going to take this little cap, plastic cap off of this brass nipple. We're going to take our vacuum hose, hand tight, screw that on there. Double check that both ends have this black little O-ring inside of it. And now it's time to start setting up our freeze dryer. The other side of this hose is gonna screw onto that fitting. Hand tight on this one as well. You don't want to use tools. It's gonna mar it up and potentially make it have a vacuum leak. And then we're gonna take the cord from the vacuum pump, plug it into this outlet back here, and then your power cord that we talked about earlier will plug into this other slot. And then you're gonna wanna make sure that your vacuum pump switch is turned on because the freeze dryer tells this outlet when to turn on. It has nothing to do with the vacuum pump other than it makes this outlet hot and turns the vacuum pump on. So now we're ready to plug in the freeze dryer. I actually have a dedicated 20 that I have already run, and it already has the 520 NEMA plugs on it. You can see that it has this little side thing right here, and that's what allows that plug to only be plugged into the right type of plug. It can't be mistakenly put into any other kind. And then one last thing we need to do before we run our maiden voyage freeze dry is reach into this hole right here, and you need to pull this drain plug out. And then that should also pull out your drain valve. This is your cutoff valve that will keep your vacuum chamber closed and not allow air to come in. And I think we're actually ready to go. I would recommend cleaning the inside of the vacuum chamber as well as the heating rack. I would recommend using either rubbing alcohol. Some people use clear distilled type vodka or tequila or something like that. Mixed feelings on that. A lot of people don't like vinegar also. Definitely do not use harsh cleaning agents in there for several reasons. This is an acrylic door. If you clean this acrylic with a harsh cleaner or even Windex, it can potentially scratch it. It'll make it cloudy. I only use water usually to clean this, sometimes soapy water. Alcohol will probably also work because it does evaporate. And one of the biggest pet peeves I have about these freeze dryers is that these acrylic doors fold onto the metal. At Freeze Drying Supplies, we sell an upgrade kit. It comes with these little bumpers that you can put behind the doors. So I put mine on real quick, and now it just makes it so the door doesn't slam against the acrylic plastic. And that kit also comes with a couple other things. It comes with a grommet that'll fill that hole for the drain valve. It also comes with some levelers if you need that. I'm also noticing that this table that I bought fits the XL very well, so a lot of people will probably be interested in this table. I'll put a link down to my Amazon store. You can find one of these. They're about $200, but it seems to fit the XL really well. It's supposed to hold 500 pounds as well. And you'll notice that the screen is just slightly different. It's purple instead of green if you have a different home freeze dryer. This does come with 5.4/24 software. I haven't had a time to play around with any of this, but I do know how to change the name on here. It does look like the candy mode is the same, so I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in that. Testing screen is very similar with the exception of there is no auxiliary on this one. So that means we just need to take this gasket off. We need to hook up our rack again, and we are ready for our first test. All right, I think we're ready for the first batch. So I turned this on, it's cooling down for 15 minutes. I thought that this would be a good time to check our decibel reading, see how it compares to the other freeze dryers. It sounds a little bit louder to me. I kind of naturally just scream when I'm on these videos anyway, so I'm not yelling because I have to. I'm yelling because that's just how I talk, I guess. Someone would call me a loudmouth. So from about 5 feet away, about 66 to 67 decibels. And I'll go ahead and take another reading once the vacuum pump kicks on. Right now I want to talk about cleaning this thing, because one of the biggest things that I've noticed about this is you're definitely not going to want to make a mess of the inside of this chamber, because this is a monster. It's huge. The rack in here is not fun to clean. It's about twice as deep as the medium was, so I have found this same brush that I have always used on all my other freeze dryers. It fits in this rack as well, fits perfectly in between those, and it can actually go all the way across the rack, which is really nice. So if you stand the rack up, you can kind of clean across it like this. So what that means is we are about ready. So I have diced 25 pounds of vegetables to do on our first run, and this is a massive amount. So 25 pounds of food plus 20 pounds of trays. This is 45 pounds right now. I just want to mention that our tray stackers do work on these new trays. They're universal for all the sizes of Harvestright freeze dryers. We have added an XL option now, so you can stack 6 trays, and we will be making parchment that will fit it. We'll be making dividers that fit the XL. We'll also be making silicone that fits the XL, as well as XL lids. So I just wanted to let you know that we are working on it. It does take time to make new products. No one has ever made these products before, so making the first of everything, it's always intense. But we want to make sure to get them to you as soon as we can, because I know there's been lots of people asking about them. So I'm going to give you the play-by-play here. This is 4 pounds of carrots. Here's 3 heads of riced cauliflower, 2 pounds of mushrooms, 3 bunches of diced celery, 15 large bell peppers, and then 4 heads of broccoli on the bottom. So one thing I have already noticed, spacing is a little bit smaller in between the shelves, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. If you've watched this channel long enough, I feel like a lot of people probably overload their trays. This is, however, under what Harvestright recommends. They say that this can do up to 30 pounds of food. I did 25. Probably just depends on the type of food you're doing too, really. You can see 3 different temperatures on here. Normally it's just 1. I'm guessing that since there's so many trays, they've actually added more sensors. I would imagine that would make the software much more accurate. And I think what we need to do now is let the XL do its work on our 25 pounds of veggies. I'm very excited to see how this does, how long it takes. And if you want to know all the specs like electrical usage and the capacity and the price and all of that good stuff, make sure you go down in the description. You can use our affiliate link. That would help us greatly. And let Harvestright know that we sent you there. If you do end up purchasing that, that lets them know that we gave you the information and helped you get to that point. And it really helps out this channel greatly. It helps out the freeze drying community. And it also allows us to purchase things like the XL, so I can do a review, so I can do an unboxing, so I can do a load. So before you make a big purchase, you can see what everything is all about. So if you have used our affiliate link in the past to purchase your freeze dryer, or you're thinking about it, let me thank you personally. Without you doing that, this content and this channel would not be possible, so thanks again for that. And it looks like the XL is done, so let's check and see how it turned out. What I found really interesting about that was the decibel level was the same, practically the same, with the vacuum pump running as it was when it was just the refrigeration unit and that was it. Right around 66 to 67 decibels. Our cycle took about 42 hours. That's for 25 pounds of vegetables. And when you set all of these trays next to each other, it's pretty incredible the amount of food this does. These tables that I have are 4 feet long. So this is about probably almost 6 feet of food. And each of those trays is 30 inches deep. And really so much food that you might have to rethink your strategy of food storage. And our food funnel from Freeze Drying Supplies will accommodate a large tray. Otherwise, I wish you luck trying to fill bags. Because these trays are so massive, they're gonna make a mess. It looks like that one single run in the XL yielded me 14 half-gallon bags of food, which is pretty insane. I wanna talk about my final thoughts on the XL. The 2 biggest factors for people when they're buying a freeze dryer is what kind of capacity it does, how much food it can put out per cycle, and also obviously the cost. If you're considering a medium or a large freeze dryer, this will do more than 3 times what a medium will do. It'll do more than twice what a large will do for, at the time of this recording at least, for only about $1,200 more than a large. To me, that's a very significant amount of upside for an extra $1,200. The XL is, however, a little more cumbersome. It obviously takes up quite a bit more space. It's going to consume a little bit more electricity, given that it does that much more, obviously. It also is a little bit more of a pain to clean and just handle and things like that. If you are trying to sock away a lot of food very quickly, this is your guy right here for sure. It's also very, very helpful for commercial settings or if you're owning a business, and you can scale up very quickly because you can just buy a second unit for less than $5,000 as opposed to tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in a commercial type freeze dryer. To me, those are the big bullet points for the XL. I will no question use this. I have a new series coming up where I'm gonna do bulk foods and stuff. So to me, this is gonna be very useful for me, as well as I think a lot of businesses and commercial freeze dryers and preppers and people that are trying to do a lot of food very quickly. You can obviously pack away tons of food with every cycle on this. And if you're not sure that the XL is for you, make sure you check out my other review videos. I have reviews for mediums and larges, and mediums and larges in the same video, kind of head to head. So if you're still on the fence which size to get, make sure you check those videos out. If you're interested in freeze drying, make sure you take a second to subscribe to Live Life Simple. And if you like the content that we're putting out, make sure you let us know by giving us a thumbs up. In the meantime, remember to live life simple, and we'll catch you next week.